You have a big day coming up tomorrow with your annual ball. We'll come to that. But first, gentlemen, we have to start with the big news. Steven Gerrard is returning to Premier League, this time as a manager for Aston Villa. And he said in the news today that he is really happy to join a club with lots of history. James, what did you think when you heard? I know it's been the rumours for a few days, but the Newcastle job was up for grabs, and then he chose Villa. Why do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic move for him that I think makes sense. I think you look at the journey that he's made already in coaching and management, and I think he's been very careful to pick when it comes to picking his next steps. The fact that he decided, he had various job opportunities before he took over the academy team at Liverpool. Cut his teeth in that role, and then people questioned whether Rangers had come too soon for him. I thought he did a fantastic job up there, turning them back into Scottish Premier champions. And I think this is the next step for him in what I think will be that journey to the ultimate destination of Anfield. I think if he didn't come like south of the border again before 2024, when we were expecting Jurgen Klopp to step aside, then I think there always would have been those questions of would he be ready? And I think how he does at Villa will tell us whether he's ready or not for a job of the magnitude of managing Liverpool Football Club. So I think it's almost as big a job as he could have hoped to have got at this stage. Villa are struggling at the moment, but they've got a much better squad of players than their position in the table suggests, and they've got owners who put money in. He'd certainly have much greater resources to work for than he was used to at Rangers. So wish him well, apart from on December the 11th when he brings Villa to Anfield.
Oh, we'll have to talk about that. But before then, David, is he ready, do you think, for Premier League?
Well, like James said, I think it's a perfect move on. I don't know whether I was surprised or not that he decided to leave Rangers at such a point, but also when you think these opportunities don't come around sometimes when you ideally want them to, and so it's a brave decision. It was a brave decision initially to go to Rangers anyway, but to leave them at this point when they're sort of trying to defend their title. Still not out of Europe yet, but look like perhaps probably that's not going to sort of bring any great ending. So I suppose it probably took me by surprise that he actually did take it, because I thought perhaps he might have just been a little bit more loyal, for want of a better expression, to the Rangers sort of fans base more than anything else. But it's a great step, and as we know, unfortunately Scottish football don't want to hear this type of thing, but they are they're a feeder league to ultimately the Premier League, whether that's players or even managers. It's people cut their teeth generally in Scotland. Van Dijk had to make that sort of step, Scotland, and then he had to come back into the Premier League to ultimately move on. And I say Scots wouldn't like you for saying it, but I think that's unfortunately that is the natural nature of the beast.
Because it is a big step from the Scottish League to Premier League, James. I mean, the whole world will be watching him and judging him game by game.
Yeah, much greater scrutiny, and I think that goes without saying. It's the biggest league in the world, and with that comes pressure and big expectations. But I think although it is a step up, he was used to. There is great scrutiny at Rangers as well. I think it's just more global, isn't it, with the Premier League? That's gonna be the thing for him. But I think he's ready for it. And I think if you're an Aston Villa fan, you look at Steven Gerrard and the way that he conducts himself, you know that you're getting someone who will give this job 100% commitment. He's a winner. He doesn't do anything half-heartedly. He's in it for the right reasons. He wants to prove that he belongs as a manager at the highest level. Just as a player, he wanted to prove himself every single week. So Yeah, if I was an Aston Villa fan, I'd be excited, because I think they've got a fantastic new manager who, I think everything I've seen from Steven Gerrard so far suggests, he could achieve as many great things in management as he did as a player.
And I spoke to him a few months back when he did admit that commuting to Glasgow, away from his family who stayed in Liverpool, has also taken its toll, that he wanted at some point to come a bit closer. Now he is physically closer as well to his family and the hub where he loves to be, Liverpool. But he couldn't have chosen just any team. Could he have chosen Newcastle over Villa though?
I don't think so. I don't think, from what I hear, he wasn't Newcastle's choice. It didn't seem to be in the pecking order. But also, I don't think Newcastle are in a healthy position to go to anyway. I don't think that would have been a. I mean, you hear a lot about the money and all those things. If I was you'd have to be a certain type of manager looking to go to Newcastle, I think, at the moment, because it's not going to be a long-term appointment. Villa is a fantastic club. I mean, it really is a fantastic. Everything about Aston Villa is top draw. The stadium, the training ground, the fan base, they are a mega club. I don't think you could get a better step up. The fact that it's not that far from Merseyside, an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours on a bad day, and like you said there, Ragnhild. I spoke to him just 10 days ago about the trip he came down from after Aberdeen game the other week, and he didn't get home till 2:00 in the morning. So, those type of things will have come into his thoughts. The fact that he can be sort of more commutable to Merseyside, and his family means a great deal to him. They're growing older very quickly. He's got a young boy who I know he doesn't want to miss out on him growing up. I think this fills so many boxes for Stevie. It's a really exciting appointment.
And also, there are obviously clubs he couldn't have laid his eyes on, because there will be some awkward meetings, like you say. Not awkward, but the first time back at Anfield playing Liverpool will be a strange one, and then he has to go to Goodison and play against Rafa. It's just a crazy scenario, but all these things will come into play, and then he will go and meet Ole Gunnar Solskjær in Manchester, and there will be some interesting sort of personal.
I just think it adds massively to the Premier League in general. I think you mentioned those kind of venues. Then you think what kind of reception is he going to get at Goodison and at Old Trafford, and obviously the Gerrard Benitez dynamic, the Gerrard Brendan Rodgers dynamic.
I know.
It's just going to be fascinating, and he'll love that. He'll absolutely embrace the chance to go up against those kind of personalities and in those venues, and he used to feed off that kind of hostility at times as a player, and I'm sure he'll do the same as a manager. And I don't think too many visiting managers to Anfield will have had a reception quite like the one that he's afforded on December the 11th. I think that suddenly becomes the absolute hottest ticket in town. I think being there that day, and it was. Everyone will pay their tributes to him, and then try and ensure he has a thoroughly miserable afternoon by finishing on the losing team. But as David said, I just think Villa makes a whole lot of sense, because you look at what you'd class to be bigger clubs in the Premier League than Villa, and most of them would be out of the question for Steven Gerrard anyway. I think with the setup there, with the fan base, with the history, with the squad as well, which is a big thing. And I think any manager walking in, you think, well, can I improve things? And they're in a very false position at the moment. I felt sorry for Dean Smith losing his job. They're 2 points above the relegation zone at the moment. They won't be there, in a couple of months' time, because he will get them going again. Absolutely, no doubt about that. So it's just going to be absolutely intriguing to see where the Steven Gerrard story goes next.
But this season has been particularly sort of noisy in terms of managers coming and going. You have to go quite a few seasons back for so much happening on the managerial scene. Why is this happening to Premier League right now? What's going on? Is it too easy to blame the manager and sack them these days?
Well, I think it always has been easy to pick on the manager. at the end of the day, managers are easier to replace than the players, and the blame doesn't always rest with the manager, I don't think. But unfortunately, he is the man that sort of is in the firing line. And we've seen some aggressive owners these days in the Premier League more than ever before. And I think the rewards are so massive that the thought of relegation, not being in Premier League, is too worrying a situation to contemplate. So there's been a change of chief executives as well. I think if you look around at the type of people who are the men between the owners and the playing side, I think that's an interesting dynamic sometimes to explore. And Christian Pearce being in charge at Villa, I think obviously you put 2 and 2 together. They know each other from Liverpool. I mean, I think Stevie was always going to be Christian Pearce number one choice.
What do you think about this season in terms of so many managerial changes? Do you think that's weakening or strengthening our league?
Well, I think it just shows, as David said, there's so much money involved that I think more and more you see the short-termism that exists in football in terms of that panic, in terms of rather than staying loyal to someone, the easiest thing to do is to change the manager. I think you look at a setup like a Watford where they seem to change the manager every 6 or 7 months. It's you certainly wouldn't go there and buy a house, would you, if you were becoming manager of Watford? It's and then you look at the Tottenham situation probably with Nuno, where everyone knew he wasn't. I think he was even their 3rd or 4th choice for the job. And then you just with that dynamic as well, when results start to go badly, you just know that the manager's going to carry the can, because I think players also subconsciously almost know, well, we're not the ones going to get the stick for this. It will be him. And and sure enough, he paid for that with his job. You think Norwich, who you kind of associate with, one of the few that do that favour stability, but clearly they've panicked as well in terms of not thinking that Farke, there were not enough signs that he could keep them in the Premier League, and obviously they've gone up and down a few times, so they made that change. Similarly with Villa, I think it was I think probably what was a game changer for Dean Smith at Villa was yes, they got all that money from selling Grealish to Man City, but that all that money went back into the squad, and of course rewind to the start of August, and people were saying, Villa could even be dark horses for, certainly the European spots, if not the Champions League spots this season. Yet, they've been a long way off. But, you would have thought that he'd have had enough credit in the bank to have ridden this bad spell. But again, it comes back to that reaching for the panic button, and obviously Newcastle was another one where, that's probably a different situation, where I think once the ownership changed, we all knew that Steve Bruce was on borrowed time, and they were always going to bring a new man in. So I think for me, it just makes you appreciate what we've got at Liverpool in terms of one of the few clubs where you do have that stability, and when you think that Klopp's been there for now over 6 years, certainly not going to be going anywhere between now and the summer of 2024, and the value of being able to build something, because I think very few managers now are afforded that luxury, because I don't think at most clubs now you can't have a long-term plan. You can't be building for what you can achieve 2-3 years down the line, because the reality is if you don't start delivering in the short term, someone will pull the rug out from under your feet.